Hi, everyone. Welcome to Real Siblings. It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast that just ain't typical. I'm Donna, and this is my brother, Eric. I'm going to introduce you this time instead of letting you say your own name. We are both professional realtors with Keller Williams, and we are here to bring you, in case you can't tell from the images behind us, the markets on the 8th.
Man,
Now,
those are some outstanding background graphics. I just have to say.
yeah, because you made them. We know this is your arena and your bailiwick. And for those of you that don't already know, I could go for 3 years and not talk about the numbers, but Eric seems to think we need to do that. So he gives me homework to compare and contrast what's happening in the San Antonio area where he works and in the Tucson, Southern Arizona area where I work. So our goal is to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain our listeners. And our topics do go in very many directions. We've already just talked for 5 minutes and can go all over the place. So, Eric, since this is your idea, where should we start?
Well, I know from a video standpoint, I actually tried to bring us together. We've done this. This is episode 80. We have done this now 10 times as doing markets on the 8th. And we've always bantered numbers back and forth. And it's like, well, you had this statistic and I had that statistic and I had this number and you had that number. And it's like, okay, let's try to get on the same page. So maybe when we're talking, we can have it might make a little more sense to the listener.
Some semblance
And
of order.
so I even went so far as to on the sheet, and I know you can't see it, but I even put our little real simple, real siblings logo on the top of the sheet just to impress the two of us because no one can
Ooh.
see it.
I didn't even, I was like, oh, homework, homework. I have to do numbers.
All right. So with that being said, one of the top of the sheet,
Hmm.
which is not numbers either one of us have specifically,
Right.
is interest rate. And honestly, when we work with buyers, that's probably the first thing they think about is what's the interest rate today? Do I have to lock it in? Is it going to go down anymore? So we have changed about 0.6% year over year. I checked just before we started recording with one of my lending partners. He sent me a screenshot of where the market's at right now. A 30-year fixed mortgage is at 6.16%.
So that's
Uh,
Eric, let me tell you that when I did last quarter, it
mhm.
ranged from 6.15 to 6.34. And this morning, all I got was an average 6.1 to 6.2, which is exactly where you're at.
Right. And then prior year, we were 6.76. So the question we
Oh,
always have with our buyers is the market, is the interest rate going down? Because long term, when you do a fully amortized loan, 30-year fixed,
yeah.
360 payments, interest is a big chunk. I don't know about how you close in Tucson, but part of our lending is here's the ugly details of
Of all your payments, right?
every single month, every 360 payments. And it's like, wow, I'm paying how much?
Yeah.
And you mean at the end of the first month, I'm only gonna own $150 of the house? It's like,
Well, I was going to say a dollar
yes,
25. So
yes. So it is definitely a big deal. But year
mhm.
over year, it isn't at the percentage where if you were counseling someone to go, should I refinance? Should I not refinance? If they got in at 6.76 and now we're only to 6.16, probably not worth it to them to spend the money to do a refinance because it's going to take so long to pay for itself.
So
You really want to be to where you're at least a full percentage or better before you start considering. At least that's the normal logic I use.
so
What about
back
you?
back in the day, back when we were buying back in Ohio, and maybe even 25 years ago when we first bought here, if it didn't change by 2%, I didn't do it. So when I go back and I look at the interest rate of our home in Ohio that was 14.5% the first one, and then I never thought it was going to go below 10. And then it was like, oh my gosh, we're below 10. And then it would go to 9 and you think, oh my gosh, now we're in single digits. But when I look at our history personally as a family, if it didn't go 2%, we didn't do it. Now, ironically, I have had this conversation with Caleb and Jessica. For those of you that don't know, Caleb is my son, Jessica is his wife, and he has been a guest on here. They were at a very low interest rate in their townhome, but they wanted a single family residence that was detached with a yard. And I think they're at 7.1%. So we have looked about refinancing based on these, but here's the other piece. The price of their home hasn't gone up in this year in Colorado, in the suburb they're in. So they don't have that much equity. So even though it's down a percentage point, it doesn't make sense for them to refinance yet. So,
And you touched on that. We touched on markets a little bit in a previous episode. We said we discussed that a little bit more.
yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more as to why it's not just interest rate and the amount of money they pay to do the refinance, but also equity in the home?
Well, because when you buy a home and whatever your dollar amount you put down, you might get in with only 3% down or 5% down. Some veterans get in with 0% down, but there's still a fee tacked on to do that. So as a result, you're like, yay, up front, I don't have a lot. But then in a year, if the house is still at 500 and you paid 500 for it, and you have those costs that it cost you to purchase, exactly what you just said. How long at 1% less interest, if we even qualify, will it be for us to make sense to pay 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever it costs to refinance?
So, with the market where it's been for the last couple of years now,
Mm-hmm.
are your lenders that you work with offering a free refinance in a certain period of
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, and I think it's 6 months, maybe longer. I haven't had a ton of those. I've been really fortunate, I guess, that I've had some conventional buyers with 20% down or cash buyers, seniors who sold a bigger house, buying a smaller house. So it hasn't been a thing to be considered. And everybody that's in at 3% or 2.85 or 3.5, they're not looking to refinance. So it hasn't been, but yes, some of them are doing it within a certain amount of time. Oh,
Okay.
same with you?
Yes, but ours are doing it much longer. I've got some that are going 18, some of them are even going as far as 24 months. And that could just be because there's so much competition between lenders
Yeah,
and mortgage lenders that in order to convince someone to do business with them and let us lend you the money,
right.
we're willing to say, look, up to 24 and sorry, 24 months. Let me finish the thought. But I think there was a lot of anticipation that with what was going on in the country a couple of years ago to where we're at right now, things were going to stabilize, whatever that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to come down because we were still 2 years ago, we were a lot closer post pandemic and
Right.
everything that was going on. We were also election year. We were also all of those things that were going on that everybody was like, nope, we're not making any kind of assessment. I don't care what our housing forecast was at the beginning of the year. All the economists, everybody who was in on those was not were not committing
Yeah. Yeah.
to anything, to anything. And of course, at the 6.16 that we're at now, 6.12, because I went through a tool that we have available to us through the Texas Realtors Association, Market View. You used
I use Chat
AI, right?
GPT. I use Chat GPT today.
Okay. And so the numbers pretty darn close considering
Uh-huh.
I called a live person to go, what's the screen saying right now? And you used the chat.
Yeah, I use the chat, which I came kicking and screaming into just like text messaging a few years. So, so Eric, let's go back. We started kind of at the bottom of our paper with the interest rates. Let's go back to the top with our, these would be the fourth quarter stats for 2025 because,
Yes, and that's one of the things that I tried to get us to do because we were getting really good at you'd pick a month and I'd pick a quarter or something else, and the numbers were not sticking together. So it's like, okay, look, let's try to, as much as possible, look at this. So the first one was all single family homes. And let me make sure we qualify that from my standpoint. That is single family residence, that is townhomes, that is condominiums all
oh,
fall in our MLS fall into that category. It is not just a single family.
so I didn't do condominiums. I did townhomes, and we don't have very many that we call garden homes. They do that in other states. Here, that's more likely to be called just a townhome. So I did single family, garden, and townhomes. All right, tell me what your median sales price was.
Our median sales price ending December 2025 was $305,950.
Okay, do you think we're higher or lower? Let's play. What was that? What was that
I think
show?
you're higher. I think that number's higher, Chuck. I think that's going to be that's a
pick,
big number.
pick a number. I want you to see where you think we're at.
I think you're closer to 400,000. I'm going to say 385.
No, so fourth quarter was 355.
Okay.
And of those, I'm gonna just go through the other numbers and we'll get yours. 80% were single family and 20% were in the townhome category. We have a separate breakout for condos. So I don't think the
And we
condos,
do too.
yeah.
It's just that I can look at it and go, let's look at everything. And
Okay,
then I can go into, and yes, for us, single family would also include something where you have a yard and those
yeah,
garden homes.
correct.
Then we have townhomes because we have enough of a fourplex townhome. You can buy an individual unit and
Yeah,
they do it as a townhome, not as a condominium association, even though
yeah.
we have the condos too. So I have a amalgam of what would really be all four of those when I
And
look at all.
this just shows you different verbiage in different places based on different MLSs. So for me then, pre-owned homes accounted for 88 to 90% of those, and new builds were 10 to 12%. And that was in what we call our MLS is Southern Arizona. So we are Pima County. We go part way up into Pinal County, and then our MLS goes all the way down to the border. So it's a large land area with very diverse builds. And you have some ranches in Sonoyta with the wine, you know, for, plantate. What are they? Wow, and cattle ranches and stuff like that. I can't
All
even
right,
think.
and
Yeah,
say it again. What did you say the percentage between pre-owned and new builds was?
pre-owned was 88 to 90%, which left new builds 10 to 12%. What about
Okay,
you?
and we are substantially higher from a new build standpoint.
Okay.
Our I just had to do the math because mine didn't give me that percentage. But
Okay.
when you look at the total number of closed units, single family homes, that's those townhomes and condos again, 7,574.
Wow.
Of that, 2,769, or just about 37% of ours, are new builds
Okay.
compared to your 12%. So
Wow.
we're 25% more of our market is new builds than what you have out there. Now, we had talked like we always do before we got on.
Yep.
Part of what you think the reason for that is the geographic location
Configuration.
of Tucson.
Yeah.
And try to explain that.
So, it's always interesting to me, you guys who are listeners, that they call Phoenix the Valley, because to me, Phoenix isn't a valley at all, but they call it the Valley of the Sun. And Tucson is way more of a valley. We have mountain ranges close on three sides. The fourth one is a little bit further away, but we can only go and grow so far. So our opportunity for new builds, unless they find a small parcel in town or they tear down something or whatever, and then they might build six homes. But the big subdivisions are very far to the northwest, heading up towards Casa Grande and then Phoenix, or southeast, which is a suburb called Vale. And it's a joke here that people who live in Vale, we at our Super Bowl party were like, "Are you going to have to stop and take a break on the way home?" Because it's an hour and 5 minutes one way, and we say, "Oh, you're going to El Paso or something, right?" But and then they say, "Yeah, you live in Phoenix when you're up where I am." So the the area is a tremendous area, and we don't have room to go for new builds in town, which affects the next numbers also. But by the way, our closed sales 3564. So yours were like twice as many, 7,000 something.
7,574 total closed units.
And remind me what the population is of, because I kind of know Tucson, which includes Oro Valley and Marina and stuff, but what's your
All right.
population?
So population and geographic area. You had
Yeah,
mentioned the fact that you were Pima and
Canal.
Canal.
Yeah, yeah.
San Antonio sits in and takes up probably 80 to 85% of Bear County,
Okay,
Behar,
okay.
Bexar. There are 8 counties contiguous to it. Every single one of those counties is part of our MLS.
So
So,
all the way around the city.
yes, so
Wow.
Bandera County, where I'm at, followed by Kendall County, followed by Comal County, followed by Guadalupe
Wow.
County, to Atascosa, to Wilson, to Medina, back up to us.
You're like a
It
clock.
makes this circle that all 8 of those counties are part of our
Multiple list.
geographic area. So the population of the city now is not just the, it's still dominant,
Mhm.
but it is not total, because once you get outside of Bear County, you've got New Braunfels, you've got Seguin, you've got Fair Oaks and Bernie. You have these other decent sized towns, nowhere near as close,
Fair
but
Oaks
I'd say
considered.
total metropolitan area now, we are at around 2.5 to 2.6 million. And depending on how they measure that, that number, like everything, is a number that it's like, yeah, but we included this, but we didn't include those, or we didn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So,
so, yeah, say 2.6 million.
okay. And see, I should recheck the numbers because I always say Tucson, but I'm also including the suburbs around. Now that may be Green Valley, which is further south, and the county names are right now are like outside of my brain. But um we are like a million something that gets to about 2 million something during the winter months, like right now during the gem show and rodeo and all those things that happen in February, golf tournaments and stuff for us. So looking at the closed numbers, that's I wanted to see. You guys are closer to Phoenix in your population for the whole area by the time you
Yeah,
count. If you said 2.6 million,
yeah, 2.6 full
okay,
time and growing. I mean, the
yeah.
whole area just continues
Oh, your area, man.
to
When I
grow
think,
and expand. And
yeah,
I mean, we've been here long enough. When you start, you start getting into the, do you remember when it was? Do you remember when it was?
yeah,
Used to be, as we left Loop 1604, which is the second of 2 loops that goes around San Antonio.
yep,
At this point, we had one traffic light until you got to our house.
right.
One traffic light. That same distance now is 15 traffic lights.
I can't even believe it when I come. Yeah, because
Because
it
every
feels,
single time it looks,
yeah,
that's new, that's new, that's new.
you're more connected. Yeah. And I gotta believe the people that grew up like Eric that I work with a lot, that grew up in Casa Grande, same thing. Like he sees it growing together. So it feels like a shorter distance because you're not just out in the country. So well,
So
what
year over year,
yeah,
we had a drop, however, even though we closed 7,574 in the fourth quarter of 2025, the previous year we had 8,219. So we had almost an 8% drop year over year in sales.
I think ours was 7%, but I didn't write that number down. I didn't to see that, but it was also a drop year over year. Yeah. Which of course is reflected in interest rates and things, right? All those factors that affect
Yes,
a person's
yes.
ability to
And I
buy.
mean, we know we compete against the new builders. I don't know
Yeah.
how many of your clients are new build buyers.
In the last year, only a couple. I've had yeah, I've sold way more mid-century, and I say that kind of wincing because of the work involved in the construction from this year, 1947, 1951, 1957, and now I have a 1961. And all those need work, especially if they've had one owner or if it's been a rental as compared to somebody who has lived there long term. They're the old crank out windows, probably more like you're going to get down midtown closer to, I would guess, to, the,
Right. Without a change out,
yeah, yeah, that
you've
haven't
got
done
some of
things.
those.
Yeah. And then
Uh,
are they going to qualify for VA or FHA without having things done and stuff like that? So, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've been fortunate on that. My 1955 built FHA financing for the buyer came back through, made value with no repairs.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And that's a very nice thing to go, oh yeah, well, we'll approve it, but
We just switched. I have a buyer that just switched from conventional to FHA and changed lenders. And we have to know now, we have to figure out now if we're gonna do another appraisal, because we already had the appraisal, but we know there's a cracked window. We know there's a cracked, so stuff like that. But all right, what about in town? What about, did you do that? I'm assuming when you said primary city on here, so for me, this was city of Tucson then.
yes, yes. And for us, yeah, trying to get out of the metropolitan area and bring it down. I honestly, I didn't have a chance to sort through those numbers. I put the sheet together and I didn't get it done
I
because I went old fashioned and
Oh my,
didn't
oh yeah, you called people. For those of
didn't
you not watching,
didn't
I'm putting my
chat
arms up in the air
GPT
like I
it.
won. Ta-da! Like I just did the dismount from the pole or the jump. Well, this was interesting for me, which made sense. So for the city of Tucson, I had said, so our median sales price in the region was 355, but for the city, 370 to 375, with like 373 being, if you honed it way down. So definitely more. And of the 3,500 and some that were sold, 1,930 were in town, which is really interesting to see. And townhomes average 270 to 280. There's more of those in town. There's more resale, although the percentages remain the same. But so 90% were resale. But again, that's because there's not place to build new builds, right? I mean, we'll get a building torn down. And right now, one of the big spaces that could be used has a new casino and a parking garage going up. So instead of residential.
So it will not be resident. It will definitely be temporary residence.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, outside of the city of Tucson, the average was 15 to 25,000 higher, and that was because of new builds.
And
But they
that's
were
because of
also
new
getting a
build.
break on their interest rates, right?
Okay.
Okay.
And then the flip side of that, from my standpoint, is how similar. Not only do our new builds have a much larger portion of our market,
Yeah.
your 12 to our 36 to 37, the median price for a pre owned single family
Yeah.
was $307,000. The
Wow.
median price for a new build was 309,990. So about $3,000 difference in new build to,
Wow.
and most of our new builds are all single family residential. They are going to be uh, at a minimum a 3-2.
Yep. Yep.
So that, and as you indicated, that there's the interest rate, builders offering financing through their approved financing.
Yep.
makes it hard to compete for someone who's in the lending business because they control the product. They say, hey, look, we're going to give you a buy down interest rate. I don't know how many billboards I can drive by right now where they're saying a 4.99 or even as
Yep.
low. One of them has a 3.99.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know
I'm
what you
getting
need to
that
do to
from,
qualify it for that, but
then you got to do
it's
your backyard. Then you got to do the stuff. It's definitely things to weigh. Um, I think we talked about, oh my Lord, never mind. It came and went. I want to see, did you do the statewide thing to get the median statewide? Because I did, and I just wanted to do this predominantly because of Phoenix and Flagstaff, of course.
okay. No, go ahead.
Okay, so the median for this is fourth quarter was 447,800 with Maricopa County, which is Phoenix,
Phoenix.
Scottsdale area being, of course, the leader in that arena. Um, and the range, it gave me that, and then it gave me a range of 435 to 450, with the difference being 23 to 24,000 less if you were doing a townhome or something. And what also struck me as interesting was days on market was 70 to 75 days. And a year and a half ago, there is nothing on the market 70 to 75
No,
days. But all the percentages remain the same. The percentages of new versus old and stuff statewide, which again is fascinating because I know up in Lake Havasu, they are booming with new
they're
builds.
building like
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So
And
that was
and as you
interesting.
pointed out, Phoenix is known as the Valley of the Sun. The
Yep,
suburbs, Glendale, Tempe, those have a lot of room to keep moving
they do. They
and
do.
growing
They
and building.
Yeah, well, remember when Richard, when your son was living there, we said he was like in East California. He was so far
It,
west.
it was so far to the west.
Yeah,
It was. It felt like it's like we're not far from the state line, are we?
yeah, yeah.
At
So,
that point. And then of course that development goes with infrastructure. And
mm-hmm.
for future episode, we discussed the fact that what is that taking? Right now, here in San Antonio, just as the primary water system, San Antonio water system, known as SAWS, which does water and septic or sewer,
Mm-hmm.
is increasing its rates. Now, they're making a big deal. It's the first time it's an increased rate in 5 years,
Okay.
but they're having to do it. And it seems it's minor, but substantial. I mean,
Okay.
it's when you look at it and go, okay, that's only affecting an average household buy. And we're talking 15, 10 to $15 a month,
Per month.
which doesn't seem like a big deal
Right.
unless you're on a fixed income.
Yeah.
And suddenly that increase is substantially more than the 2.7% inflation increase you got from the government on your fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason they're doing that is San Antonio wants to start competing for some of the massive data centers and cloud storage.
Oh,
They have a demand for both water and power. And
silver.
we have to get it to them.
Yeah. Oh,
You
it's
add into that the fact that we still have all kinds of wind turbine stuff that's supposedly generating power that we already can't get that to the cities and the metropolitan areas because the grid isn't substantial enough for it.
mm,
At some point, something has to pay for all of that,
yeah. Well,
whatever
and
all that is.
I don't know
And
about you guys, but we have our suburbs and stuff. Tucson is so much more ecologically forward than Phoenix from a city perspective that people come, they don't want it. They want the technology because we have to have it to live these days, but not the water resources. We get the lease down here. Everybody sucks it up north of us,
right.
so it's interesting. Eric, we only have 4 minutes. I think you better wrap us up. So
So Thank you for taking the time and listening today. We got a lot into the details, a lot less lifestyle. We wanted to make this market focused. We do present ourselves as being professionals, and professionals mean that we know what's going on in the market, not just a couple of siblings who get together and chat.
Although we do that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams Heritage in San Antonio, Texas, in the Texas Hill Country. Donna is a real estate agent with Keller Williams Southern Arizona in Tucson and the surrounding areas to a degree.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
not going all the way to Vail.
No, not if I can help. No.
If we can help you in our area, please reach out. Our contact information is always at the bottom of every single podcast we post. And if you need help outside of our areas, we are connected to a large network and can connect you with a perfect agent to help you wherever you're at in the United States or in numerous countries around the world.
It's true.
Until next time, remember, it may be simple, ain't always easy. I'm Eric.
I'm Donna.
And we are
Real
Real
siblings.
Siblings.